So, did you check your Pulsezen balance this morning with your coffee? Some of you are. Well, it may not be coffee, and it may not be time to celebrate, because we are witnessing real time the collapse of centralized finance. Why do I say that? Well, we have a very interesting situation going on right now with regard to Gemini, Genesis, and the coin group. Because the problem here is that with the rout of FTX, you would see that Genesis, one of the oldest trading exchanges that there has collapsed. And that really all happened because of FTX and 3 Arrows Capital going down, and it left a huge hole in Genesis finance. The problem with that is that is controlled by Barry Silbert's company, and Barry Silbert's company is the one that created the Grayscale Trust, and the shenanigans that have gone on there are going to have a lasting impact on centralized finance forever. It's not going to happen this week. There is still another 2, maybe 3 weeks maximum for Genesis to decide what's going to happen. So here's the intricate details that you need to understand. The coin group, operated by Barry Silbert, had a loan from Genesis. Now, why would that happen? Because coin group is actually the parent of Genesis. So we don't understand what happened there. But it would seem that the coin group took a loan of $570 million. And this week, the shares in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, created by Mr. Silbert, they purchased about $575 million worth of those shares, which is a very strange setup altogether, because the parent company is borrowing from the daughter company. It doesn't normally happen that way around. It also turns out in a letter sent to the shareholders that the $1 billion hole that was left in Genesis because of the collapse of 3AC, because of the collapse of FTX, has been covered by Barry Silbert's group. But that is just mind-boggling, because the loan of $575 million hasn't to be repaid until May 2023. And Barry Silbert has said that the company is going to make $800 million before that loan becomes due. But the reality of that is the $800 million forecast that he suggested that they're going to make in revenue is just that. It's just a forecast. And that loan redemption is real, and it's May of next year. But the problem now is that Genesis has basically stopped trading. And because of that, Gemini, the earned product in Gemini, which is owned by the Winklevoss twins, is no longer able to pay the interest for their earned product for their earned customers, because it was Genesis that was producing the income. They have money locked in Genesis. And at the same token, the coin group by Gilbert is the parent company. And it has assumed the debt from the 3 Arrows Capital debacle. They've took it on their balance sheet, the $1 billion loss that Genesis was left with after the collapse of 3 Arrows Capital. The whole game of cards could come crashing down very, very shortly, because Genesis cannot fill that hole. And Barry Silbert has said he's not going to bail them out. Now, he's the parent company. If he's not prepared to bail them out, then nobody is. The end result of that is that Genesis goes bankrupt. And if Genesis goes bankrupt, the creditors can then call in the loan, the $575 million loan from Barry Silbert's coin group. And if that happens, we could see the coin group also being in real trouble. So, and because of the huge diversified investments that company has throughout the CEFI world, we are likely to see the total collapse in CEFI if that was to happen. So here's what I think is going to happen. Genesis is going to go into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So I'm very sorry, but for all of those of you that have money in Genesis, you're not going to get it back. And that means that all of you that have money in Gemini, in the earned product, you ain't getting your money back either. The contagion from this is going to be bigger than the FTX debacle. There's no doubt about that. But there is a silver lining to all this, and the silver lining is that it means that DeFi now becomes the product spotlight, because DeFi has endured through all of this, despite all the problems that there is in DeFi. With DeFi, you're not dealing with a third party. It's trustless. It means you're not dealing with a human being to, put all your trust in. You're putting all your trust in code. Pulsezen is true DeFi. There's no middleman, there's no company. You deal with the code directly, that's it. And it pays trustless yield after every single transaction. There is no other protocol out there that can save you in this really financial Armageddon that is happening in CEFI. And of course, going forward, the regulators are going to have to do something about CEFI, which means that all the trillions of dollars that are sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what is happening, a lot of that is going to flow into DeFi. So I'm extremely optimistic, hence the celebration this morning, about what that means for DeFi and the money energy coming into projects such as Pulsezen. Now, a lot of people have flooded you out. For those of you who are not in the Pulsezen opportunity, and all I can say is this: you need to do your own research. A lot of people compared this to SafeMoon. It isn't SafeMoon. The major difference, of course, is, well, who are you dealing with? Who is the group that created Pulsezen? Well, I'm the main advocate for it for a start. Also, we don't operate Pulsezen. The code doesn't do what SafeMoon did. It doesn't take the transaction fees and change that back into liquidity, because what that really did for all the copies of all these reflection tokens is it actually lowered the price every single transaction. We thought that was nuts, and that's not how our protocol works. What we have is a real wealth redistribution protocol where the pay it forward function takes a 2% deduction, and all it does is it spreads it around to all Pulsezen holders. All you have to do to earn trustless yield is hold Pulsezen in your own wallet. It is as simple as that. Watch the talking heads, watch Twitter, as exactly what is going on in the CeFi world. And it's not pretty. And the future for DeFi, and in particular Pulsezen, is extremely bullish. So with that thought, I will leave you. I'm not able to read the comments, so I thank you all for those of you that have joined for this very brief update. My morning rant, which is kind of delayed a little bit, and it's not really a rant, it's a celebration today. It's a celebration of the fallout that needed to happen. Much rather that it happen now, whilst we are at such an early stage in Pulsezen, and it very much looks like the prospects going forward are very, very bright. So on that note, I'll leave you wherever you are in the world. I hope you have a very, very fantastic day, and I will see you soon and give you updates on the truth in DeFi.